In a dramatic and potentially explosive escalation of geopolitical tensions in the Indo-Pacific, the United Kingdom and Australia have announced the formation of a new, fully integrated joint military command dedicated to countering the rising power of China. The historic declaration, which effectively operationalized the AUKUS Security Act, commits the two nations to a level of military cooperation not seen since the Second World War. It is a bold and high-stakes gamble that formalizes a new de facto alliance in the region and draws a clear line in the sand against Chinese expansionism. The move, which was immediately and enthusiastically endorsed by the United States, has been met with furious condemnation from Beijing, which has threatened severe economic and political consequences. This development coming at a time when the world is already transfixed by the American ultimatum to Russia opens the second major front in the global confrontation between the United States and its allies and the authoritarian axis of Russia and China. The announcement was made at a joint press conference held at the Sterling Naval Base near Perth, Western Australia, a location chosen for its strategic importance on the Indian Ocean. Standing side by side, the British and Australian Prime Minister unveiled the Combined Expeditionary Force Indo-Pacific, or CEFIP. They outline a plan that goes far beyond simple military exercise. The agreement established a permanent joint headquarters in Darwin to be staffed by high-ranking officers from both nations with a rotating command structure. In an unprecedented step, this integrated command will have the authority to direct the naval, air, and land assets of both countries operating in the region. This means a British admiral could command Australian warship or an Australian air marshal could direct Royal Air Force squadrons. It represents a significant pooling of military sovereignty, a clear signal of the gravity with which both nations view the threats posed by China. Under the terms of the agreement, the United Kingdom has committed to a persistent and semi-permanent military presence in the region. A Royal Navy aircraft carrier strike group, centered on one of its Queen Elizabeth-class carrier, will be permanently assigned to the Indo-Pacific, operating out of Australian ports. Royal Air Force combat squadrons, including F-35 Lightning II stealth fighters and Typhoon jets, will begin rotational deployment at Royal Australian Air Force Base in Northern Australia. Furthermore, Britain's nuclear-powered attack submarines will significantly increase their operational tempo from the Sterling base, a move designed to enhance Allied undersea warfare capabilities long before the first Australian-built AUKUS submarine become available. The pact also includes the deep integration of cyber warfare and intelligence gathering operations, creating a shared intelligence hub focused exclusively on monitoring the activity of the People's Liberation Army. The reaction from the United States was swift and overwhelmingly positive. President Donald Trump held the decision on social media, calling the UK and Australia our greatest and most loyal friends, and praising the move as tough, smart, and necessary. He presented as a vindication of his long-standing demand that American allies must step up and share more of the security burden in their own regions. From the Pentagon, Secretary of Defense Peter Hegseth released a formal statement applauding the historic and courageous step taken by London and Canberra. He confirmed that United States Indo-Pacific Command would work seamlessly and in full partnership with the new CEFIP, effectively creating a three-tier security architecture in the region. This move, he argued, would create a more resilient and lethal allied deterrent against any potential aggression. Secretary of State Marco Rubio framed the development in diplomatic terms, stating that the new command was a defensive and stabilizing measure designed to preserve peace and uphold rules-based international order. He cited China's illegal militarization of the South China Sea, its relentless economic coercion against countries like Australia, and its increasingly belligerent rhetoric towards Taiwan as clear justifications for the new alliance. China's response was one of incandescent rage. The Foreign Ministry in Beijing held an emergency press conference where a spokesperson denounced the agreement as a dangerous provocation that would inevitably escalate tensions and undermine peace and stability in the Asia-Pacific region. The spokesperson accused the United Kingdom of suffering from delusions of a bygone colonial era and of acting as a pliant vessel of the United States. Australia was singled out for even harsher criticism, with the spokesperson accusing its government of betraying its own national interests and tying itself to the American war chariot for the sake of acting as a deputy sheriff. The spokesperson warned that Australia was foolishly turning itself into a frontline state in a conflict it could not win, and that in doing so, it was sacrificing its economic relationship with its largest trading partner. These were not idle threats. The Chinese government immediately signaled its intent to impose severe economic punishment. The state-controlled media began publishing articles calling for a consumer boycott of British and Australian goods. Government sources let it be known that a full review of all trade relationship was underway. This placed at risk billions of dollars in Australian export, including iron ore, natural gas, beef, and wine. For the United Kingdom, the threat extends to its massive financial service sector, which has significant interest in Hong Kong and mainland China. Officials in Beijing warned that any nation that chooses to act as an accomplice in America's anti-China strategy cannot expect to simultaneously profit from the Chinese market. It is a clear and brutal message. Nations must choose between the security partnership with Washington and their economic partnership with Beijing. Alongside the economic threats, China made a powerful military statement. The People's Liberation Army announced that it would be conducting immediate large-scale live-fire military exercise in the South China Sea. The media broadcast image of fleet of destroyers and frigates leaving ports accompanied by fighter jets and long-range bombers. The drills were explicitly designed to simulate an attack on a hostile carrier strike group, a thinly veiled threat to the new joint UK-Australia naval presence. The message from the PLA was unambiguous. China's military is not intimidated, and it is fully prepared to defend what it considers its sovereign territory against any foreign military encroachment. The scale and timing of the exercise were intended to send a shockwave through the region, demonstrating to China's neighbors the immense military power they could face if they aligned too closely with the West. The formation of the CFIP has sent ripples of anxiety throughout the wider Indo-Pacific. Japan, which has its own serious security concerns regarding China, offered quiet but firm support for the move, with its defense minister calling it a welcome contribution to the peace and stability of our region. However, other American allies were more circumspect. South Korea, which maintains a delicate balancing act between its security alliance with the U.S. and its deep economic ties to China, issued a mute statement calling for all parties to reduce tensions through dialogue. The nations of Southeast Asia, represented by ASEAN, are perhaps the most nervous. They are caught directly in the geographic middle of this escalating great power competition. The Philippines and Vietnam, which have active territorial dispute with China in the South China Sea, may privately welcome a stronger Western military presence as a counterbalance. However, the official position of ASEAN will likely be one of deep concern over the increasing militarizations of their backyard. Nations like Indonesia and Malaysia are profoundly fearful of being forced to choose sides and have consistently warned that an arms race in the region makes conflicts more, not less likely. This momentous decision also ignites significant political debate within both the United Kingdom and Australia. The Australian government is defending the integrated command as an unavoidable and essential response to a direct and growing threat to the nation's security and sovereignty. The opposition, however, is raising serious questions about the immense cost of this military buildup, the wisdom of antagonizing the country's largest trading partner, and the potential loss of independent decision-making in matters of war and peace by integrating its command structure so tightly with another nation. In the United Kingdom, the government is heralding the move as a powerful demonstration of its post-Brexit global Britain strategy. They argue it proved the UK is still a major global actor with the will and the capability to project power and defend its interests. The opposition parties, however, are fiercely critical. They accuse the government of imperial overreach and of draining vital military resources that are needed for the defense of Europe, especially given the heightened state of alert due to the crisis with Russia. They argue that the UK is picking a fight it cannot afford on the other side of the world purely to curry favor with President Trump. This new military front in the Pacific cannot be viewed in isolation. It is the second act in a global drama being orchestrated by the Trump administration, having forced its European allies into a position of economic submission with a new trade deal, and having forced its European allies into a position of economic submission with a new trade deal, and having cornered Russia with a stark military ultimatum, Washington has now successfully marshaled its key Anglosphere allies to create a formidable military challenge to China. The world is now facing a terrifying two-front global confrontation. The strategy appears to be one of overwhelming and simultaneous pressure on America's two main rivals. But in doing so, the Trump administration and its allies are creating a period of unprecedented global instability. The risk of miscalculation of one of these flashpoints spiraling out of control has never been higher. The creation of the Combined Expeditionary Force in the Pacific may have been intended to deter China, but it has also locked the West into a path of direct confrontation, making the world an infinitely more dangerous place. Many of my listeners, like 70%, haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel. And so many of you don't even know that you haven't subscribed. And that is actually what makes the show going. It's almost like you're making a donation to the show. So that's why I ask again and again, because it enables us to grow and grow and grow. And we're going for the long haul here. And listen, if this is your first time listening to World Global Conflict, you don't have to subscribe. You guys, your first one's on me. But if you have watched the show before, it's like you're a freeloader now. So all I would ask you is, if you have seen the show before and you like it, help me, help my team here. Hit that subscribe and like button now. And we will continue to build the show for you. That I swear. Thank you to all of you guys who have subscribed. It means a lot to me. Thank you so much. That's all for me for today. I will see you soon. Bye for now.